The room was quiet, yet it carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken voices. Somewhere deep inside, you always knew the truth could not be silenced forever. People had mocked you, painted stories about you, and thrown shadows upon your name. They said you were something you never were, and they tried to make others believe it. At times, the noise of their lies felt louder than the voice inside your own heart. But today, something had shifted. The curtain that once covered the light of truth had begun to tear, and the world was finally starting to see what you had always known. You were not who they said you were. When Jordan Peterson speaks of resilience, he often points out that the foundation of a meaningful life is not built upon the praises of others, but on the courage to bear the burden of truth. Imagine standing on a stage where every face in the crowd has been told you are guilty of something you never did. For a moment, fear grips your chest, but then you notice something remarkable. The truth does not need applause, it only needs time. Lies are heavy, unsustainable, and they eventually collapse under their own weight. As time passes, people begin to see cracks in the stories your enemies wove. Their confidence fades. Their whispers no longer sound like certainty, but like desperation. They lied about you because they were afraid of what you represented. Strength, clarity, and the unwillingness to bend to falsehoods. But now, as those lies unravel, the ones who spread them are finding themselves trapped in the very web they spun. Their voices are quieter. Their power is slipping. Truth has an odd way of working. At first, it is ignored. Then it is mocked. Later, it is resisted with all the force of rage and ridicule. But at the end of this path, truth stands alone, calm and unshaken, as everything false around it burns away. This is the stage you are standing on now. People who once doubted you are beginning to reconsider. Those who walked away are glancing back. The narrative has shifted, not because you shouted louder, but because you endured longer. In those seasons where you felt crushed by injustice, you carried yourself with dignity. It may not have felt like victory then, but every moment you chose not to fight back with the same weapons of bitterness, you were already winning. The fire inside you was not lit by their approval, but by your own commitment to stay true. And now, those who lied cannot escape the mirror they face each morning. The truth is destroying them, not by revenge, but by simple exposure. There's something almost poetic about this process. When lies are told, they demand constant maintenance. People have to invent new words, new stories, new explanations, just to keep the false picture alive. But the truth, it doesn't need upkeep. It simply waits. Like a seed in the soil, it may remain hidden for a season, but when the time is right, it bursts through the surface and nothing can stop its growth. Think of the moments you wanted to give up, when the weight of unfairness made you wonder if it was even worth standing tall. If you had walked away then, the lies might have stood unchallenged. But by choosing to keep walking, you gave the truth a chance to reach its own audience. And now, you are no longer the accused. You are the example. You are proof that falsehoods cannot last forever. What is happening to those who lied is not your responsibility. You did not set out to destroy them. You simply held on to what was real. Yet the collapse of their credibility is inevitable. People are beginning to ask questions, to notice contradictions, to wonder why their words never quite match reality. Slowly, their own voices are turning against them. And here lies the deeper lesson. Your worth was never determined by their stories. They tried to define you, but their power was borrowed. They relied on others believing them. The truth, however, was yours all along, carried quietly within, waiting for its moment to shine. Jordan Peterson often reminds us that life is not about avoiding suffering, but about carrying it with purpose. This was your trial, and though it burned, it refined you into someone stronger than before. As the dust settles, you realize something profound. The lies may have wounded you, but they did not destroy you. In fact, they revealed your resilience. People are watching, and they are learning, not just about you, but about themselves. They see that endurance is possible, that dignity under fire is possible, that standing for truth, even when mocked, is worth it. So now, as the truth rises and their lies collapse, you don't gloat. You don't need to. The victory is not in their downfall, but in your survival. You are still here, stronger than before, and more free than those who chained themselves to deceit. And yet, the story is not just about them or even about you. It's about what this moment means for anyone who has ever been lied about, rejected, or misunderstood. It is a reminder that the human spirit can outlast falsehood. It is a call for courage to those still in the middle of the storm. It is proof that the truth may take time, but it always arrives. You stand today not just as a person cleared of falsehood, but as a testimony that light always outlives the darkness. The world will keep lying about others, as it has always done. But your story becomes a signal in the night, a message whispered to countless souls. Hold on. The truth is stronger than the lie. The silence after the storm often feels unreal. You've carried so much weight for so long that when the noise finally starts to fade, you almost don't know how to breathe in peace again. But peace has its own lessons. It teaches you to look back, not with bitterness, but with clarity. The ones who lied about you never understood the depth of what they were doing. To them, it may have been a tactic, a careless word, or a way to protect their own fragile image. They didn't expect the truth to fight back, not with violence, not with argument, but with persistence. Yet here you are, standing in the quiet aftermath, and they are the ones unraveling. There's a reason truth destroys deception. Lies demand energy, constant adjustments, endless explanations, fragile defenses. The truth, on the other hand, is effortless. It does not need to be managed. It doesn't rely on memory. It doesn't ask for backup. It just is. The moment the light touches it, the shadows retreat on their own. That is what is happening now. Jordan Peterson often speaks about responsibility being the key to meaning. You bore the responsibility of carrying your truth even when others denied it. And because of that, your story is no longer just about survival. It's about strength. People are looking to you, not just to see the outcome, but to learn the process. How did you keep going when everything seemed against you? The answer isn't complicated, though it is not easy. You refused to trade your integrity for their approval. You chose to walk the harder road, one where every step was tested and every breath felt like resistance. And now, as those who opposed you stumble over their own fabrications, the weight you carried is becoming a crown. But this season is not about revenge. If you focus only on their collapse, you miss the greater purpose. What matters now is what you build with the freedom that truth has given you. This is the stage of restoration, the moment when you take back what was stolen. Your voice, your reputation, your peace. The people who once doubted are beginning to approach you again. Some carry guilt, some bring apologies. Others remain silent but watch from a distance, realizing they were wrong. You don't need to punish them. Life already does that. The lies they believed have crumbled, and with that collapse comes their own regret. Your task is not to cling to anger, but to walk forward with a strength they cannot understand. What destroys the liar is not your words, but the silence of truth. Think of it as a mirror. Every lie they spoke bounces back to them now, reflecting the emptiness of their motives. They cannot hide from themselves anymore. And while you may feel the temptation to gloat, you are wiser than that. You've already learned the most valuable lesson: the truth never loses. The strange thing about being lied about is that it teaches you who you are. When they tried to define you with their words, you were forced to search deeper into your own character. You discovered patience you didn't know you had. You found courage you thought belonged only to heroes. You learned that your identity was never in their stories, but in the reality you lived day by day. And now, those lessons become the foundation for your future. When you speak, people listen, not because you shout, but because you have endured. You carry credibility that cannot be faked. You know what it means to stand alone. You know what it means to wait for the truth to rise. And that knowledge makes you unshakable. In many ways, the collapse of their lies is not the end of the story, but the beginning of a new one. You are not just someone who survived injustice. You are someone who grew stronger because of it. And this is where meaning lies, in turning suffering into strength, in transforming wounds into wisdom. Others will come to you with their own battles. They will tell you how they, too, have been misrepresented, mocked, or misunderstood, and you will look them in the eyes and say with confidence, "I know what that feels like." But hold on, the truth will find you. Your voice will not just be advice, it will be proof. For the ones who lied, their downfall is inevitable, but it is not your celebration. They are left with the weight of their own dishonesty, and that is heavier than anything they once placed on your shoulders. You've been set free, but they remain bound. Think about it. The very weapon they used to harm you has become the instrument of their undoing. Lies are like fire. They burn quickly, but they also consume the hands that ignite them. Truth, however, is like stone, enduring, unmovable, unchanging. It does not shout. It does not chase. It simply stands waiting for the fire to burn itself out. The beauty of this season is not in watching their destruction, but in reclaiming your purpose. What will you do now that the storm has passed? Will you shrink back into the comfort of survival? Or will you step boldly into the calling that their lies tried to suffocate? This is the challenge the truth gives you, not to settle for being right, but to live for something greater. Jordan Peterson often emphasizes that life's meaning comes from aiming at the highest possible good, regardless of the suffering along the way. Your suffering was real, but now it has prepared you for something larger than yourself. You've been through the fire, and you've emerged not just intact, but refined. So when people look at you now, they don't just see someone who survived lies, they see someone who became stronger because of them. That's why the truth is destroying those who lied. Not just because their words failed, but because your life itself has become the evidence against them. You don't need to argue anymore. You are the proof. And perhaps this is the greatest victory of all. The lie no longer defines you, but your endurance does. And in the long story of human struggle, it is not the false accuser who is remembered. It is the one who rose above. The air feels lighter now. The storm that once clouded your days has cleared, and in its place stands something unshakable: clarity. What was once hidden has been revealed, and the truth that people tried to bury has risen higher than the tallest mountain. You have endured, and because of that, the very weapons formed against you have turned into monuments of your resilience. Those who lied thought they had power. They believed that if enough people repeated their story, it would become reality. But truth is not shaped by repetition. It is shaped by reality itself. And now, the world is watching as the fabric of their lies dissolves, thread by thread, until nothing remains but the emptiness of their intent. You have walked through darkness, but instead of being consumed, you carried a light. That light was not loud, but it was steady. It burned quietly inside you when no one else believed. And now that same light is what others look to for guidance. The ones who accused you are left stumbling, exposed by the very truth they tried to bury, while you are standing taller, not because you sought revenge, but because you never gave up. Jordan Peterson reminds us often that responsibility gives life meaning. This was your responsibility, to hold fast to what was real, even when the world mocked you for it. And now the meaning is revealed. You are stronger, clearer, and freer than you have ever been. The truth is not just destroying their lies, it is elevating your life into something larger than you imagined. But there is a decision before you now. When you carry victory, what will you do with it? Will you remain satisfied that the lies are gone, or will you use this new freedom to build something even greater? This is the moment that defines the future. Think of it. If their lies had succeeded, your voice would have been silenced, your influence, your potential, your story, all of it buried beneath falsehoods. But now that the truth has broken through, you are not simply restored, you are amplified. Your words carry more weight, your actions shine brighter. People listen not because they have been told to, but because they have seen what you endured. Those who once believed the lies are waking up. Some approach you in quiet shame, unsure how to reconcile their past betrayal with their present awakening. Others remain silent, too proud to admit they were wrong. But their silence itself is proof. They have no words left. The truth has spoken for you, louder than anything you could have said yourself. And yet, your role is not to dwell on their regret. The truth's power is not in destruction alone, it is in restoration. This is where your story expands beyond your own name. Now, you carry the responsibility of showing others that the truth can win, even when everything seems against it. There are people right now living in the shadow of lies. They are being accused, misrepresented, or overlooked. Their voices feel small. Their hope feels dim. They wonder if the truth will ever come for them. And you, by standing firm, have become their signal in the night. Your story whispers to them that they are not alone, that their pain has meaning, that endurance is worth it. What destroys those who lied is not your triumph alone, but the ripple effect it carries. Every person who sees your victory begins to question falsehood in their own lives. Every bystander who once joined the crowd of mockers now hesitates, wondering what other truths they might have ignored. In this way, the truth does not just destroy lies, it rebuilds culture, one heart at a time. And perhaps the most remarkable part is that you never needed to fight them with their weapons. You didn't need to scream louder or strike harder. You only needed to remain steady. Their lies collapsed under their own weight, while your truth stood unbroken. That is why the story now belongs to you, not to them. But let's be clear, this is not the end of your challenges. Life will always bring new trials, new voices of doubt, new seasons where you are tested. The difference now is that you know what you are made of. You have evidence carved into your very history that you can endure. And that knowledge is a shield no lie can pierce. When Jordan Peterson speaks of aiming at the highest possible good, he calls us to rise above bitterness and to choose responsibility over resentment. This is your call too. You could waste this victory by feeding anger toward those who tried to ruin you. Or you could take the higher path to use your story as a beacon, to walk forward without chains, and to live with a freedom that no one can steal. The truth has done its work. Their lies have fallen. And now, the question is not what will happen to them, but what will you create from here? You are no longer the victim of their deception. You are the evidence of truth's endurance. Every scar you carry has become a testimony. Every silent tear you shed has turned into strength. Every lonely night has prepared you for this dawn. And now, as the light shines fully, you realize that you are not just standing, you are rising. The ones who lied are left in ruins of their own making. But you are free. Free to walk forward, free to speak with courage, free to build without fear. And in that freedom lies the true destruction of deception. For while they are chained to the weight of their dishonesty, you are soaring beyond it, carrying a message stronger than any accusation. Lies fade, truth endures, and those who endure with it will never be defeated.